In the last lecture, we started with the blockchain development, in which we have seen the when to use the blockchain. We have seen a flow graph that if you cannot rely on the trusted third party, and if you require database, and there exist multiple users, and also the multiple users who involve in that application have different conflicts of interest. In these cases, you can choose a project as a blockchain project. If any of these are no, then the blockchain is not required for developing the project. So once after that conditions, then you are supposed to check for the access control, and whether the transactions, what type of transactions you want, and the trade-off between the immutability and efficiency. If you require these three, then you can choose the public blockchain. If all these three are no, then you have to check whether the multi-party consensus is required or not. If you don't require multi-party consensus, then you choose the private blockchain. Otherwise, go to the consortium blockchain. So this is the flow that we have discussed in the last lecture. And also we have seen how to understand the business problem. What are the specific business problems, challenges that the first project will address? That is, first of all, you need to define the scope of the project, scope of the business challenge to address. So what are the current way of solving the business problems? What is the existing system and how existing system is addressing, and the problems with the existing system that you are supposed to understand. Next, assuming the business problem is large, what specific aspects of the business problem will be addressed? If it is a very large problem, then what aspects you are going to address? You cannot address every aspect uh, in one stretch. So what are the aspects that are important that you will pick up first, then we'll address that. Next is, who are the business network participants involved, and what are their roles? That you need to understand, like who are the participants in the business network, like the managers, financial advisors, or maybe the stakeholders who will involve in that network, that you need to understand. Next, who are the specific people within the organization and what are their job roles? So after understanding this, then you are supposed to understand the participants also. Who are the participants? How many types of participants are there? How will they access with how will they access and interact with the blockchain? Will there be peer nodes available? Do you need a web or mobile application for that? Are gateways are needed for this? Do you need to integrate the external data sources? Who will operate the blockchain? Who will govern or regulate the blockchain? Like bylaws has to be written. What is the value or incentive for each participant to join the network? It means, as part of this course, you are supposed to do the course project. This is a common practice in all the courses. Whatever the courses you take up, in all these courses, you are supposed to do the course project. The course project is of around 15 marks. And in that, you need to take a case of your choice. You are supposed to address that case with the concepts that you have learned in that particular course. For example, you are doing the blockchain course. So what are the concepts you have used for blockchain development? Like in the next, we'll cover the smart contracts, decentralized applications, and how these smart contracts and decentralized applications can be developed using Ethereum as the blockchain, and also IBM Hyperledger as the blockchain. So we mainly see the IBM Hyperledger and the Ethereum blockchain frameworks. Then I will introduce few other blockchain frameworks, and if time permits, I will also give you an introduction to how to deploy a blockchain over the cloud environment. So whatever the concepts you have learned, accordingly, you are supposed to shape your case, that whatever the business case you have taken, and you need to perform the work. So in order to perform the work, there will be some phases, like phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, like that. In the first phase, you need to identify your problem, and supporting literature for the problem. Supporting literature means, is the problem have already been addressed by any other developers or researchers that you need to identify, and if they might have worked, if any other researcher have done work on the same topic. For example, you might have chosen blockchain for healthcare. If you might have chosen blockchain for healthcare, any other researchers have worked on the blockchain for healthcare or not, you are supposed to investigate that. If you find around 10 to 15 papers which are related to healthcare and blockchain, just you download those papers. Once you download the papers, go through the concepts they have addressed. Paper 1, they have addressed the concepts like record keeping and verification. Next, on second paper might have addressed patient information and patient data based blockchain. That means a blockchain application they might have developed for these two. And third one might have addressed doctors and specialization, this kind of things. And the fourth person might have addressed insurance to the patients. So like that, everyone cannot address all concepts that will include in the healthcare. But each and every author, what they will do is they will address few issues, not all issues. Now, after understanding that, you are supposed to identify what are the various features available in the healthcare. Out of these features, what are the features addressed by the first author or first researcher, second author or second paper, what are the features they have addressed, third paper, what are the features they have addressed, what are the leftover features you have observed out of all these things. You pick up those features and you try to implement those features in your project. This is one thing. Second one is, somebody has done addressed some features like insurance and patient record keeping, but you find some lapse in those features. That means they have implemented, but they have not implemented in an efficient way. Now you are picking up that feature, and you are trying to improvise the implementation, and you are showing that your implementation is more better than the previous implementation. That means previous person might have used some weak security methods, but you have used some good security method, and you are comparing your method with the one who have done previously, and observe that your method is giving you at least 15 to 20% greater security than the previous method. So this is the way of doing any research work or any project work. Mainly, especially the project oriented, or sorry, research oriented project works. So this is the work you are supposed to do in phases. So in the first phase, you are supposed to observe the problem statement, define the problem statement, and understand and get the recent literature in your area. Recent literature means the literature that was published in 2021, 2020, maximum 2019. That is, in these 3 years, what is the literature or what is the research work happened or development has happened in your area of the business case. But after collecting that, the second phase is you need to understand, you need to observe the comparison of the various works. Like as I told just now, what the first author has done, what the second author has done, what the third author has done, this kind of thing you are supposed to think. For example, you may also choose the properties of blockchain frameworks like scalability, security, immutability, and number of transactions. What are the features we have seen during the consensus protocols? Same kind of features you can also take. And what are the features addressed, or what are the properties addressed by each author? Like that, a matrix can also be made, or a table, comparison table can also be made. as part of the literature survey. So for this, you need to get some recent literature. Via this recent literature, you need to understand their work and form a comparison matrix. And with that comparison matrix, you should be in a position to conclude what are the properties they have left over, what are the features they have left over, and because of these features and properties left over by those authors, we are picking up those features and those properties, and in our project we are trying to address these issues. And then you need to define your problem statement very clearly that these are the features we are addressing, and our main focus is only on implementing these issues. Then how you are supposed to start? Obviously, since this is a project kind of thing, a development kind of thing, obviously you are supposed to follow the standard software development lifecycle methods. First, you perform the analysis. In this analysis, you need to understand the, or you need to understand the roles and responsibilities. Like this is entire thing. This entire thing is related to the functional this analysis category. How to understand the business problem? You need to address each and every question. You need to address each and every question with respect to your problem statement. What are the specific business problems or challenges that the first project will address? So this project will address the security of patients and patient data in the healthcare system. So this is the scope of the project. In this scope, what are the things we are going to address? The patient data will be collected with the help of fingerprinting. Our patient data will be collected with the help of Aadhaar number. Okay. And the patient data may be linked with the main network. Like that, you list out what are the scopes, how far you want to do your project, what is the scope of the project. What is the current way of solving the business problem? You address the present way of solving this problem, how patient data security is maintained. Next, assuming the business problem is large, what specific aspect of this business problem will be addressed? Who are the business network participants involved and what are their roles? Here, many hospitals, corporate hospitals will be having the chain of hospitals. Like for example, Apollo or Max hospitals or this Fortis hospital. These hospitals will be having their chain of hospitals. So each and every hospital will be having a system like chief doctor and the outpatient wing and the emergency ward. So this kind of things will be there. So in which section this patient has been admitted, corresponding head has to approve the admission, and they will be allotted to the related doctor. So in this case, you need to observe who are the participants in the network, the chief doctor and the head of the departments, like head of the orthopedics, head of the pediatrics, head of the so and so. So like that, who are the head of the department? The head of the department will be having the main more powers to approve the patient admission. Okay, so like that, who are the network participants who will mainly work with the system? You are supposed to identify. Then and what are their roles and responsibilities need to be defined. Who are the specific people within the organization, and what are their job roles? These are the things should be clearly defined. Next is understanding the participants. Who are the participants? Either the participant is a patient. If it is a patient, if he is a patient, then there will be different categories of patients. The patient may be normal citizen, or maybe the patient may be a VIP, or patient may be a government employee who is utilizing the scheme. The patient may be of some other category. Okay, or it may be emergency with it may be an accident case Okay, immediately somebody who is nearby might have taken to the hospital, but no different, no corresponding family member available. Then how to take the admission? So see what type of participants, who are the different participants, and who are the stakeholders. Okay, that also need to be defined here. How will they access and interact with the blockchain? So here, how the patients will interact with the blockchain. So patient can only see his data. He cannot see others' data. But the chief doctor can see the data of others. Head of the department can see the data of the patients who are admitted in their department, or maybe the referred by his department. So like that, how will they access and interact with the blockchain? Will there be any peer notes? Any peer notes is there. For example, orthopedician has referred to some other department. Obviously, that department should also have the same data. Should be in a position to view the patient data. So, is there any peer node available? Yes, obviously, the orthopedician and maybe pediatrics. Okay. So they might have the peer nodes. So like that, you need to observe, is there any peer nodes available? Do you need a web application or mobile application? So for this, web application is sufficient. But for web application is sufficient because this is happening within the organization and between the chain of the hospitals. So obviously, no one will operate with the mobile phone. Web application is sufficient. So the head of the department may be having the computer. From via the computer, he may operate it and he can see it. Are gateways such as exchange or data providers needed? For example, if the patient might have taken from patient might have admitted through the Aadhaar number, so Aadhaar verification must be done first. Whether via fingerprint or via retina scan, they have to prove that this is the person who is belong to this Aadhaar number. So obviously here data exchange is required, data provider is required. And also, do you need to integrate with the external data sources? Obviously, this should be other information should be linked with the UIDI. That data source is required to get the information. So we should have a legal contract between the UIDI and the hospital network. Otherwise, you cannot view the data of the person who submitted the Aadhaar number. Who will operate the blockchain and who will govern or regulate the blockchain? Whether do you want to involve the health ministry into this blockchain, or this is only a private one who will be only that chain of hospitals will operate it? And if so, who is the governing body? Who is the governing body, or what is the governing body who will regulate this blockchain? This need to be clearly defined. What is the value or incentive for each participant to join the network? Here, this is a patient record, so there is no incentives will be there. Usually, no one will refer anyone to join in a hospital. So this is not an incentive-based system. So if it is an incentive-based, like any other chain marketing kind of thing, like some chain marketing things will be there. If you join a person, then obviously you will get some credits, some points. Okay, like that, if you join 10 members, you will get some points. With that, you can purchase some products. So this is the different environment, and e-healthcare system or a health monitoring health system is our medical system is a different system. Next, participants' identities. Do you need to know your users? So who are the users? Do you need to know? Obviously, if you work in a chain of hospitals, obviously they may be, for example, Fortis Hospital, if you consider, or Max Hospital. In Delhi, there may be one branch, and Gurgaon there may be branch, or maybe in Noida there may be a branch. So there also they will be having separate departments, department heads. Do you want to know who approved or who referred from to this, or who are the users want to check with this medical record or healthcare system, there is up to the blockchain framework utilizers or blockchain users to decide. If it is a completely private blockchain, then this issue will not arise. Obviously, in the private blockchain, there will be some fixed people will be there who can do these operations. If it is a consortium or public blockchain, this is a big concern. Pseudo-anonymous blockchain like Bitcoins does not require user identities to be verified. But in case of private blockchains and consortium blockchains, you are supposed to verify the identities of the users. That means there may be a branch in Delhi, Max Hospital, where there is a head of the department for the orthopedics. So he may be having the valid employee, maybe employee code and other valid things with which he should be in a position to log in and can access the blockchain. So that means it's a verified user. He is a verified user with which he can do the things. Or you may supply a digital signature for him or digital certificate. Via the digital certificate, he may approve the system may approve the digital certificate and will give you the login provision. So these kind of things also can be done. So this is a more concern if you use public blockchain. In most business cases, some form of identity is required. Like for example, in public blockchains, an identity oracle linked to a trusted database could provide such information sources. Sources can come from governments, financial institutions, or utility providers like Aadhaar number or maybe PAN card or maybe any other thing. In private blockchains, a gateway or controller ensures the identity is verified before credentials are issued to the users. So only one single authority will be there who will do this verification and issuing of the identities. So depending upon the type of blockchain that you are opted for, you are supposed to address this question or issue. And one more thing is whenever financial services are included, you need to, or financial service or supply chain or business kind of things were included, you are supposed to understand the assets and transactions. What assets are involved and what is the key information associated with the assets? What are the transactions involved between whom and what assets are associated with transactions? For example, you might have developed, you are planning to develop a blockchain framework for supply chain management of the supply chain management of gold. Okay. Who is the sender and who is the receiver? Who is the mine? From which mine that gold has been mined? Okay, and what is the quality of the gold? Either it is 22 karat or 24 karat. Okay. And whether the customs have been paid at the sender side and the customs have been paid at the receiver side, and from there, who is the main dealer is taking care of that gold, and from there, from the main dealer, who are the sub dealers taking this particular gold. And for example, if the gold has come to India, then there is a BSI mark will be there. Whether the government have approved this gold via BSI mark or that label or not. And back of that, there will be mark at the same time, number will also be there. That number should also be tagged with the blockchain. So any purchaser want to check this particular gold item, whether it is a legal item or illegal item, he can enter into that gold network and can verify with that number which is written at the back of this article, and using his provided temporary keys, he may enter into the blockchain network via web application, and he can track the item from the gold mine to the supplier from whom he purchased this article. So this is the tracking. This entire tracking will be recorded in the blockchain. So this is what is called asset and transactions. What are the transactions involved between whom and what assets are associated with the transaction. Understand under what business or contractual condition assets are under as they transfer from one owner to another owner. In case of the land registrations, whenever you purchase any land, obviously there will be a linked documents from whom you have purchased or from whom that seller is purchased has purchased. Okay, like that, there is a chain document will be there. So how this particular asset has been transferred from one owner to other owner. And next one is defining the transaction. Here, the transaction is nothing but single unit of land or a particular piece of land. What is the transaction you are going to make? What type of processes needed to take place in your blockchain network? Invoke actions like additions, deletions, change, transfer. These are recorded onto the blockchain. For example, adding of some assets, deleting of assets, changing of name on the assets, because sometimes name may be changed. Okay, maybe you may give the gift of a land to your known. For example, the father may gift land to his son or daughter. Okay, that in such cases the name will be changed. Obviously, the blockchain again in the transaction need to be new transaction need to be generated by changing the name of the owner. Next is transfer. So transfer of the assets, like for example, one person there may be a child on his name, on his or her name, a land is registered on the, and this registration was done in the blockchain. But if the child attains 18 years of age when he becomes minor, so when he or she becomes major, then obviously there will be a guardian. Till the time there will be a guardian or a caretaker on his name, that particular land or may be available. But if you write a logic like a smart contract logic, whenever that child attains 18 years of age and whenever he or she becomes major, automatically the asset which is on the guardian's name should be directly transferred onto the child's name. So this is here addition will be done. That is new role will come, and this land will be added to this kid, the child who attains the major, and from the guardians or caretakers or power of attorney, you can say power of attorney, from the power of attorney, who is holding the power of attorney, from his account, that land will be removed or deleted, and the name change will happen, and also at the same time transfer will also happen. So that means invoke actions, add, delete, change, transfer, those are recorded onto the blockchain. And whether querying the blockchain is required, as we have seen previously, a customer purchased a gold article and he want to see the track, he want to track from where this gold article has come with the number which was typed on backside of the article. So it is a query only. Select so and so from this, okay, with the article number. So automatically the history has to come. So querying of the blockchain. And do you need to control access to these functions based upon the participant types or roles? Obviously, if you look at a healthcare system, nurse cannot access the entire blockchain. But head of the department can access the blockchain up to certain level. Chief doctor can see all the admitted patients and their conditions in various departments. So depending upon the role, this access control will change. What are the main steps in the current flow and how these are executed by business network participants? What is the expected benefit of applying blockchain technology to the business problems for each of the network participants? What legacy systems are involved? Legacy systems means very old systems which are used by many organizations. But what degree of integration with the legacy system is needed? Do you want to ask the user organization to completely replace the existing systems, and for installing the blockchain, or do they require any additional resources to be added? For example, if they might have you, if they are maybe using a Pentium processor or maybe a i3 processor, it's okay. But if they are using around 250 GB hard disk or 120 GB hard disk, you may recommend that you better you place at least 10 terabyte hard disk, or at least you establish a server in your organization, so that you will be having this many number of patients every day. Over a period of time, you will be having lot of the database size also increases. Obviously, the blockchain size also increases. So it must be stored on the disk. So hence, you may go for upgradation of your hard disk, you upgradation of the computer hardware. So like that, you may give the recommendations finally. And also, you should show that your project work require minimum configuration to set up, without having without disturbing the existing network. With little effort, you should be in a position to be in install your blockchain on the organizational network, so that our work, our way of design will not affect the already existing system. And with few changes, very small changes, which are affordable changes, the system can be installed. Like that, you should be in a position to prove it finally. And also, you should prove that your system is showing better security compared to the previous works. Your system is showing faster work, or faster way of accessing, or easy way of creating the accounts or transactions, verification of the transactions. So like that, you have several measuring properties are there. You can take some properties and you can be in a position to establish that your project, that means whatever the work you have done has achieved very good in these properties. So hence, we have done our project at best. Like that, you can conclude the work. And not only concluding, but you should also give some points to the readers to take up for as the next extension of this work. Like we did these features, and we are leaving the features for the future work. Or we have completed these functional requirements in our work, but we are leaving these functional requirements for the future work, or we want to take up for the future work. So like that, you have to end the report. So this is the way of starting the project, and designing, addressing the issues, coding. This designing and coding have not been discussed. We'll see next after this particular module. We'll see the Ethereum blockchain, smart contracts, Solidity programming. In that, we'll see how to write the code and how to design the project and all. But overall, organization of your report, or what are the topics that you need to take care of in writing the report of your project, that I have covered with these slides.